phone here. And start the recording.
Ready?
Oh, by the way, Darren has a daughter playing for their first state soccer game, so he's gonna catch that, and then he'll make it as soon as he can for hopefully the 5 o'clock.
Good for him. All right. And, well, it is October 24th, 2020 at 3:32 in the afternoon.
Did you say 24? Yeah, it's the 14th, not the 24th.
I don't know what I said. How long ago was that? It's the 14th of October. And all board members are present except for Kristen, and she is out, not feeling well. So we wish her the best. In fact, we get a report from Lee here on Kristen. What do you know? What's going on?
She's been in the hospital and been released and doing better.
Surgery or illness?
Illness.
Illness, oh my, okay. All right. Superintendent, take us away here.
Okay, great. So for our working session, we have 2 items. The first one is concurrent enrollment and the right of first refusal. We had a conversation about that with the board earlier, and the board was asking for some clarification, and so we'll let Micah take it from there.
So thank you. I asked Sarah Wolford to be here with me tonight from USUE because she knows a lot more about this than I did, and I thought either we have her present or you ask me questions that I don't know and I ask her, and then we'll just take a long time to get the answer. So I'll let turn over to Sarah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you can go to the next first one. So the basic idea is the state of Utah, the legislature has divided the state of Utah into sections, and those sections are then assigned a public university. And so I worked really hard actually to try to find the map, and I can't find it. But what this means is that it's the legislature and USHE, the Utah State Higher Education Board, has decided that depending on where you live in Utah is which college can service your concurrent enrollment needs. And sometimes that overlaps, but almost never. And so that means that just whatever your servicing area is who concurrent enrollment will give you classes and what they have to offer. The frustrating thing sometimes is that every college has their own list of classes. So you can go to the next one.
So can we interrupt with
Sure,
questions?
please do it all the time. Go, go, go.
Great. So if a student, say for example, came to USU Eastern as a student, but they grew up in, say, the Uinta Basin, and over there will they have different offerings?
Yeah.
Right, but it's still a Utah State campus. Will they have different offerings for concurrent enrollment over there than they would have over here?
No, Utah State Logan is who dictates our classes.
Okay.
So all the campuses, so Tooele, the ones that offer you concurrent enrollment, Tooele, Blanding, Price, so Eastern, and then the Uinta Basin.
Okay.
So we all work off of the same list. And so this is how it's broken down. So you can see that depending on the university, they were assigned counties and school districts. And then, for example, under Utah State, where it says like Carbon and Emory, there's a more detailed list that says includes charter schools and private schools because sometimes they're not recognized as part of a school district. So then we want to make sure that every school or every high school has the opportunity to be able to be serviced in some way. Okay, so what happens is you guys are the LEAs, okay? You're the education. You're the high schools. And what happens is you say, hey, we'd love a concurrent enrollment class. And I can give you my list and I can say, here's what we have to offer. And then we can go, okay, if I don't already have a teacher, do you have a teacher? I love that. We worked really, really hard, especially at Carbon High, to get you guys teachers in your school because it's awesome because then you follow your schedule and your days and your odd and even AB, I don't even know. It's a lot. Carbon's schedule is amazing. And so you guys, by using your own teachers, get to actually offer way more classes than if you were subject to me. Because what happens is Logan, a list of the classes that they broadcast out, and they broadcast 12 a school year. They do 3 on trimesters. It's kind of frustrating because the schedule's weird, but it's really awesome because the kids get more courses that they can get through. And then off that broadcast course list, then we also go and we say, okay, what else can we offer? What else can you guys teach? What else can we do? You guys have the really unique option that you also get to come to our campus for the CTE courses. You're the only high school in the state that does this. So you come down to our campus and you do welding and you do cosmetology, auto, diesel, and then health professions. So that's how that works, but you can go to the next one. That's basically what I said. Oh, I'm ahead of myself. Okay, so this is basically our view of concurrent enrollment, and this is the State Board of Education's view and the legislature's view. Our view is to give you exactly what you need in concurrent enrollment courses for high school students to have a almost completely finished gen eds. So when they walk into a college campus, they are ready to go. So we're really careful about the courses that are on that state approved list. And this is where it gets sort of frustrating because some colleges offer like the history of rock and roll. Nowhere in the world does any student ever need that course. And I can tell you that because I have degrees in music. I never had to take it. And so some colleges have like pages and pages and pages, hundreds of offerings. Utah State, not so much, sorry, we really don't. We have a couple hundred, but not hundreds. So what happens is if you have a course that we do not offer, and this has happened a couple times, we want to hear about it. We're either going to figure out how to get it added to our list, or we'll figure out if another college can offer it. Now, what we want to do is we want to see a proposal as to why this course specifically is needed in your high school, and we're not meeting your needs through another class that might fulfill that gen ed requirement some other way. So an example is Emory High has animal science that comes from Snow College. That's because Emory High, I don't know why. Animal Science 1, we don't offer, but we offer Animal Science 2. Which makes no sense. So the kids have to go to Snow for Emory High 1, or for Animal Science 1, and then they come back to USU for Animal Science 2. Stuff like that. Machining is another example at Emory that we do because we don't offer it for concurrent enrollment, and they do. Snow does. They've approved the instructor at Emory High, so if you want machining, you take it from Emory. But every time there's a course requested, they have to come through the colleges. The colleges are who talk, not the high schools. So you would come to me and you would say, hey, we really would love to have the history of rock and roll. And I would say, okay, let's talk about this. Why? How does it benefit your students? What's your enrollment estimations showing? Is there a pathway specific that you might want to fulfill because this course needs it? Stuff like that. We'll go to the next one. Okay, here are all the courses that Utah State offers that just fulfill the gen ed requirements. Gen eds are accepted by every university, every state university. I cannot speak to BYU or Westminster. As private colleges, they do not have to offer, or I guess accept, Utah State concurrent enrollment credit for any colleges. If you remember the thing that shows how the state's divided, they're not part of the deal. They don't participate. A lot of times, BYU and Westminster will accept those credits as just the extra ones. They don't take it as it is. So these are the gen eds required for every college student in every state university. So they meet the requirements under each of those sections. These are the options that they have. So the next screen is the rest of it. So some places, yeah.
So if you go back, there's still an issue with them not allowing Harbin to have English 2010.
That is statewide. And I'll explain why, and there's a reason for it. So we'll get to 2010 in a second. So Utah State's actually working on that. So if you go to the next one, so all of these have at least one, if not 2 or 3 options for students to take it. Now, back to English 2010. There are, so 9 years ago, the legislature and most of the colleges got together and said, listen, we would really rather you guys didn't offer 2010 because it's something we feel that we want them on our college campus to do. 1010, do it, great. Now, I know that there are colleges that still do it. I know that Dixie does it, SUU and Snow still offer 2010. I will tell you, they get in trouble and fined every year. They should not be offering it. However, Utah State has petitioned the legislature, and we have petitioned Utah State and the president of the university to allow us to offer 2010. There, we see the need. Those classes have such small numbers, the cap is only 25. So to try to get college freshmen through it takes years. So my daughter goes up to Utah State, she did all of this. The only class she left was 2010. She didn't get into it till she was a junior because there's just such a need. So we are working on it, I will tell you that. Because we're working on it, the odds of Utah State saying, yes, take it from someone else illegally until then is very slim. You can try, I'm happy to try. But that's how that looks. So all of this requirements are fulfilled somehow by courses offered by Utah State. And there's a lot more that aren't on here, and they fit into other areas, or they're like for instance, physics, 1010 is all that's required for that science class. However, Carbon High does also the lab, which is just an extra little thing for the kids that maybe want to be in the physics program or need that lab to get that credit, then that's why we do a little extra. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so I'm glad you guys asked me to talk about this because I actually went through an entire lawsuit this last fall because first rights of refusal were not followed. Okay, so if you want a course that I do not offer, please let me know. Please let me do the legwork, okay? Your other option, and that's not even true, but more often than not, Snow is who steps in, okay? Snow has a grant from the government, and they got like $5 million, a huge amount of money to push their concurrent enrollment programming. That's why they have like 400 classes and we don't. I will go and we will talk, so I can't approve anything. It's not me that does it. It's Utah State level above me. They're in transition as to who's in charge though, so I don't know this week. If this happens and it's approved, it is only approved for one academic school year. It must be reassessed and reapproved every school year. So for example, every year I have to submit and file and sign and get to all the places, the paperwork for Emory High to be able to teach Animal Science 1. And every year Snow is wonderful and they call me and they say, hey, can we still do it? Where are you guys at? And every year we go, we're trying to get a class, but we aren't there yet. So yes, go ahead. So that's how that works. You can go to the next one. Okay, let me tell you what happened this year. Yeah, please.
2 questions.
Sure.
How long do you have to give them the first right or to refusal?
What do you mean by how long?
Well, so we make an application.
Okay,
We work through you, you
Yeah.
take it to the Utah
Yeah.
State. Right, first year goes by, second year goes by.
oh, that we don't get
Fifth
an
year,
answer?
fifth years go by.
Okay.
Yeah. How
I guess it's forever, as long as it needs to stand. As long as you require the course
No,
in
no,
your
no.
school.
How long till they say, no, we're not gonna do this, and then we can go somewhere else? How long do we
gosh,
have to
no,
wait?
It's not that long. No, it's a couple weeks. No,
Okay,
no,
it won't be year after year.
No. It's an active process.
Okay.
It's an active process.
Question number 2, if a
Yeah.
student, for example, was going through Dixie High School, and through
Okay.
Dixie, took as a junior English 2010,
Okay,
and then their family moved, they came to Carbon High School, they finished off their high school years and picked up a few other courses, and then from that point, they went to another institution at that point.
Yeah.
Would the 2010 follow them?
yes. Yes, it's an awarded credit class. Mhm.
Okay,
Just-
even though it's not legal?
Yes, because it's their transcript. It's on their transcript. That's it. So the class is legal.
Yeah.
Just the institution offering it is breaking the law.
Okay,
So it's a perfectly legal course, and in fact, I have students all the time from Carbon High that take it.
I was gonna say, so then a student can individually take it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh,
distance-wise.
I'll take your money full tuition, of course.
Yeah.
Versus $5 a credit. Yes, absolutely, they can do that.
Gotcha.
And we have had that happen. But I just know that when it went away, I know it cost, and this was before me. I've been here 5 years, and it went away about 2 or 3 years before I got here, and it caused huge problems. Melissa,
I just looked at the master
list.
list.
Yep.
And U of U and USU are the only ones
That don't.
offer English 2010.
Okay. And I can tell you, so the process of getting a course added onto the state list is a 2-year process if we miss the deadline. The deadline is November 15th of every school year for the next school year. So by November 15th, next month, any courses I want added to that state list have to be proposed for the 21-22 school year. And a lot of times we miss that window because it's really early in the year and it's hard to do that. And so the applications can be filed. All I can tell you about 2010 is that it has been trying to get done. I've heard that starting since last May when Daryl Harris, who's no longer concurrent enrollment in Logan, but he said, listen, we're trying to get 2010. We have to get all these people on board. So yes, they want it. Yes, we're trying. It's just not there yet. So let me explain what happened. High School B wanted some courses from Snow that Utah State also offered. We offered the courses they wanted, but they liked Utah State's or Snow's time in the day better than mine. And so they called Snow and they put it on their schedule. So they skipped every step possible. And we have given Snow permission to do French. Every year I give them permission to do French. That's another one. But at this high school, just French was the only one. And so I just fill out a sheet. Every year I get a sheet in the spring from Snow saying, hey, here are 600 courses we want to stick in your high school. What are you going to let us do? And I work with the principals and I work with the schools and I work with everybody. And in this case, it ended up that all I approved was French. That's what they needed. This high school liked their times better. So the counselor, he called Snow and he said, we want political science and human development. Snow did it. So it shows up on their master schedule and I get a copy of their master schedule and I went, oh, no. They didn't go through the proper channels. What's hard too is that Utah State is a little less likely to approve a course that we're already offering. The time may not be perfect, but we're offering it. And so we'll figure out how to make it work in your schedule. So we had a meeting with the school board, or not school board, sorry, the school district. Superintendent was there, secondary lead was there, the counselor that had done this was there, principals, assistant, it was a big meeting. I handed out my process. I said, let me show you exactly what happens when Snow contacts me and says, we want to offer it in this huge list. And I said, that political science and human development was not approved. Does everybody understand what? It needs to be taken off your schedule. It is not a class you can offer for students. We all left that building. That was all great. That was on a Friday. On Monday, that counselor called Snow and said, put it back on our schedule. That counselor was fired, and I threatened to pull the program from Utah State. You cannot break, it's a law that the legislature has set. In fact, Snow called that counselor and said, you cannot call us, you are breaking the law. So I was actually very happy with Snow to do that and to take that step and say, what you're doing as a counselor is illegal. You cannot do it. I would love to give you all the classes I can, but there is a proper process to do it. And so working with that school district, we fixed it. The counselor still, though, no longer deals with that. But we fixed it because if you're going, it's legislative. And that's what I really mostly honestly want people to understand is I did not make the rules. Utah State didn't even make the rules. It is legislatively dictated and mandated. And then the State Board of Higher Education does it. I think that's all I have. Yeah. Questions?
I have another one. And I'm sorry, you guys. Sarah and I have spent lots of times together, and we've had some good successes, and we've had some not so good successes. My question, my concern is, and I noticed it was a little bit different this year, but in order for our students at the high school to be able to get as much as they need, so when they walk into the college, they'll be almost ready for that associate degree, or as the superintendent would like to see them have that associate degree from. The issue comes when you have junior students who take the whole trimester, which gives them 27 credits, or whatever. But then next year, they need some more classes. It's the same classes.
Right. So two things about that. First of all, so Logan is the one that decides what comes into the broadcasting, and that is all there is. They outsource all those instructors. They found that those are the classes they can most easily find someone with extra time that can teach a concurrent enrollment course. Those classes are also broadcast over the entire state. So what you see coming into Carbon High is also going to Kaysville High, is also going to, so it's not just Carbon, and so we don't have the liberty to switch all of that around. And Logan, again, is who dictates that. Logan is we're lucky we're getting what we're getting. Logan is not a big fan of concurrent enrollment, quite frankly. They're fine with the few courses that they offer. Every fall, I submit more courses. I do it. Last fall, I submitted 43 new courses to get approved. None were approved, not one. So we try. And so those broadcast courses from Logan are what they're willing to give. The plan of concurrent enrollment is to not get an associate's degree. It's on purpose. It is intentional. It is a program developed to introduce college and general level courses at the 1,000 and 2,000 level to students to give them an opportunity to be successful in college before they step onto a campus. They can finish an associate's in high school. They would have to take approximately 3 to 4 more courses outside of what they could take in concurrent enrollment that they would pay full tuition for. But when it comes to that and looking at schedules, I would say also look at what's offered at your school then. And combine because we have added so many courses that you guys are teaching at Carbon High, that you can combine those with what Logan is offering. Because again, Logan is just happy that they are walking out of here with their gen eds, except for English 2010, done. They can follow the broadcast and never take a class from Carbon High and be done with their gen eds except for English 2010. So I personally have no control over the broadcasting, but I can tell you why they do it. So you're right. But also I would venture to guess not very many of those juniors are sitting there for 4 hours a day the whole school year, getting every single course they possibly can. There's not a ton of them.
Right, well, they'll start them and then drop them.
Right.
Because they are difficult. And I personally, I really want to say that I have seen a huge growth with concurrent enrollment over the last few years. And I remember when Robert was the principal years ago, and we started this process, and Doug Hinsey, Robert and Doug would sit up there and they were trying to figure credits and how it would all work and stuff. And, that was just kind of the beginning of it, and it has grown huge. And then there's that period of time when we used to actually send like a whole class load of kids
Here.
down on campus, and and we and honestly we knew and we know that we're kind of a secret. We don't want to rock the boat because
Yeah.
we are getting more,
You are.
much more. I mean, if you looked at just
You get more
The
than high
concurrent
schools in
enrollment.
Logan, who
Yeah.
have Logan campus right
Right.
there. Not
if
let's
you
do
look
steps onto
at
that campus.
offerings for
Never.
concurrent enrollment and you look at and a lot of it has to do with the CTE. So a lot of the kids, when they're taking those CTE classes, they're getting those elective credits they need to go with that. I would just really, really like to see a push for 2010 and, and then, I don't know,
Honestly, those broadcasts, I can't ever, I don't know that it's ever even going to be something they're willing to do.
Right.
Just
To
because
change those up.
they've got a system that works and
Right.
they shovel those classes and that's what works.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you that I go to the National Convention for Concurrent Enrollment. It is a nationwide program. And I remember sitting in one of those sessions and a high school in Ohio was so excited because they had 2 college classes.
Mhm.
They're like, guys, this is the coolest thing. And I sat there and I went, oh, we're doing good. Like, okay, never mind. I feel pretty good about how we're running this program. And they were ecstatic about the 2 college classes that they have. So you guys really do.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can probably put you up against almost any high school in the state and you have more. You do.
Well, that's absolutely true if you look at all the ones that Snow services.
Well, and
So-
snow,
Here's our frustration.
Oh, okay.
We're a public education entity, and this is a school board, okay? Don't pin Micah down here. This is a school board. We're part of the state system of education, of public education. We are not on the same grounds as what other high schools in this state are. In reality.
In terms of,
In terms of concurrent enrollment. If you look at those that are serviced by Snow, that has 400 and some, and we don't, that's not equality.
okay,
And the major push for the the Utah State School Boards Association in many areas, in all areas, is for from funding
To opportunity.
opportunity
I can see that.
is equality, and it's not there. And so we, as a Board of Education, don't give a hoot what the mothership thinks or wants. What we want is equality and the same opportunities for a kid sitting in Carbon High as a kid sitting in Manti High.
Okay, I
That's
will
what
tell
we
you,
want.
you don't have the capabilities to host that. So Snow may have 400 classes on their list. There is, I can tell you that there is not one high school that offers 400 concurrent enrollment courses.
No, but they have the
There's no
opportunity.
way.
But they have the opportunity.
And-
They have the opportunity for 2020. They have majorly increased opportunities.
So
It
the
happens.
state approved list for each college is 100% different for
It
everyone.
doesn't matter what the state approved list is.
But-
Look at what is in practice.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you though that that state approved list is approved by the legislature.
Right.
So if you or anybody else wants more courses added to Utah State's list, I will happily do it. It's a
But we
25-page application.
already have had many experiences that just because it's said in law
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that Utah State and Logan is going to follow. As many things that have happened with the merger with USU Eastern, with College of Eastern Utah to
Correct.
Utah State. So no, and yeah, that's the only way to attempt to force it. But we already know, and here's the general feeling in public education is the concern with, and not you, okay, thank you for the 42 and all of that
No,
that
you
you're
have
trying to
Couple
do,
hundred.
is that you've attempted
Sure,
to
to
get
get more
approved
at it,
and
sure.
then didn't. Thank you so much for that. Please continue. But it's that general arrogance of higher education that really bothers the public.
So what would you like to have happen?
Opened up, that every high school in the state has the exact same opportunity.
So if that were a possibility, so any class that you're getting from Snow is either because there's an approved teacher in your high school that Snow has approved to teach, or they are broadcasting in.
Okay?
The current stand of 3 courses, or the 12 that I offer right now from Utah State, Carbon High School has a hard time finding the place to house those 12 and to house the students that are for it. I will also
Right,
tell you
but-
that,
Our vision is.
Yeah,
is-
let's look
Yeah.
at what our vision is.
Okay.
Okay, can we have the possibility of moving our students forward, which we've already talked and needs to start early. We're not talking as freshmen or as sophomores. We're talking we need to start these in a direction earlier than that. If we don't have a plan or an opportunity to move them forward, we can't. So no, we recognize that you give us 400 offerings and we're going to fill 400 classes. We don't have that illusion, but without the possibility of knowing that we can develop these particular programs and develop these students and broaden their horizons to what they can do in life, then we'll just sit here the way we are.
so my
forever.
question is, what would you like course-wise?
The opportunity to have the same as everybody else. in the
Okay,
state.
but I cannot, at Utah State,
No,
I cannot
But
take
you can pass
Snow's
the
list.
message along.
I will contact my senator. I mean, really, he lives down the street from me.
We can do that.
Right, and
It's
that's- and
you
it might
contact-
take the
You tell
pressure
your
from you
contacts
guys.
on what the school districts are, and it's not, I'm talking for this particular Board of Education, but it's not unique. It's not unique. And that's what they're feeling. So
I-
don't.
But I think what's happening here is, I mean, we on the board recognize you're an advocate for our kids
Yes.
at Carbon High School.
Yeah,
No question about that. There is no question, you're on our team.
there's no finger pointing to you.
But-
right now. Remember, I said mothership
Well, and I need
several
to know
times.
what you guys
Yeah.
need,
Right.
because I cannot go say, like, I cannot do that. I
Sure.
can't do it. It
So
will not
the
happen.
question is, are
But
we
you won't
truly
happen
limited
unless
to
you
12
pass it on.
courses?
You are, no, oh gosh, no, you guys have a ton. The only ones that come from Logan,
Okay,
that are broadcast from Logan, that are statewide, everybody in the state has equal access to, are those 12 courses. You guys have many more courses than just that. You guys have CTE courses, you have CAD courses, you have English 1010, 2200, you have math, you have statistics, you have so many more. You have an ag classes, you have physics classes, you have anatomy that was just added last year. You have above and beyond, it's just there are two versions of concurrent enrollment. The broadcast from Logan and what you are taught in your own high school, plus you get at the university because you come down for CTE.
so if the program was changed that said, we're no longer going to do first right to refusal, we're going to let the free market drive it.
Yeah.
And say, which school offers the best offerings for that high school will be able to be who services it. Then university would start competing for the best courses that are going to be most able to serve what those students need. Now, we can't, in reality, do free market because the legislature's got to pay for the courses. I understand that. But if the schools had to compete for their students, I think we would see, as Wayne says, the mothership, a lot more willing to try to compete with SNO or UCAT or MCAT or some of those other applied technology schools and courses.
Okay. So how can I help?
Yeah, right.
Keep fighting the fight.
I mean,
Keep
And
fighting the fight.
what I need from you then is specifics. You cannot say, give me
Right.
everything Snow
And
has.
that's the other part.
Go
You
through
want
their
us to
list.
tell you specifically
I
what we
need
really,
you to
really
say-
want.
And show a need. Again, let me use the history of rock and roll. You have one kid who is interested in that. To go through the process of having that course approved, first of all, the application to get a course approved is very lengthy and a lot of detail. And I have to show it's a whole lot of stuff.
Right, and
So I can do it. I can fill out all the paperwork and turn it in. And Utah State fundamentally will go to what end? So because concurrent enrollment was set up to meet the gen ed requirements, because other colleges choose to do more, but concurrent enrollment, the program originally, the job was to meet the gen ed requirements at the 1 in 2,000 level for students. Everything outside of that is extra and fun. My concern is when you get too many courses being offered, you have students taking too many college classes, they get too many credits before they graduate, they lose their incoming freshman status, and they lose their ability for FAFSA eventually, because FAFSA taps out at too many credits. So you
Which
have,
is, please describe
oh, I have no
FAFSA.
idea.
That's the,
Student
that's
student
the
loans.
student
Student
loan.
loans,
We
yeah,
just want to
sorry.
make sure we're all
Sorry,
clear.
yeah.
Yeah, the-
friends.
How do I describe it? I don't have that much time to describe FAFSA.
But-
But, so if a student, and the legislature has also dictated that a student can take 30 credits per school year. That is it, they get 30. So you can have students trying to get 30 credits working on their gen eds, or you can have students trying to get 30 credits taking classes that have no real value.
But that's not really what we're talking. We're talking about the gen ed classes,
Yes,
but the other component that you mentioned earlier, but you're kind of leaving out now is the CTE.
yes.
So that's the key
Oh, I'd
area
love to offer you
that
more.
we are so concerned about
Yes.
because we have kids, we feel like we have industry developing in our
Yes.
area. We want to be flexible enough to be able to address the needs of our community, the industry that's
Okay.
present here. And
So CTE is a different beast, and let me explain why. Logan doesn't offer CTE. That's not their world, and they don't care. We offer CTE at Eastern. So those 43 classes, every one of them were CTE courses. Every single one that I submitted to Logan to get approved was because you guys wanted more and we needed more, and we acknowledged the need for industry certifications that may be attached to an associate's degree when they graduate after 2 years from this program.
that's what
Absolutely.
we're talking about. though,
CTE
that
is a whole,
keeps
I
getting
will,
rejected by
Right.
them.
yes,
and
I will
we
go to
use-
bat for CTE every single day. I will
So-
not go to bat for history of rock and roll.
Know
Sorry.
that we feel your pain also, okay?
But you
Please
have
let,
an advocate in Logan for CTE. So last year, Utah State Eastern
Here.
split into two, basically, colleges. We are now, the CTE college is underneath Logan, underneath Bruce Miller. They created an entire new development called ABTE. He is in Logan, and he came down here and he was shocked. He had no idea that Eastern was so involved in the CTE world and that we were offering such programs and working so closely with the communities and the businesses in the area to complete and get what they need coming out of college. And so he came down, he said, what can I do to help? And that is where those 43 classes
That
came
was
from.
Dave Miller?
No,
Bruce.
Bruce Miller.
Bruce. Sorry.
Okay, he is your advocate. He wants to see this also. So CTE, oh gosh, I'm thrilled that that's what you're wanting because that's what we've been working on. That's what I have done for 5 years is trying to get you more CTE courses. Now, Zach Kanakis over on the Eastern campus, his new job title, he used to be a counselor for the CTE department. His new job is Pathways. That is all he does. He creates pathways and internships for high school students to be able to feed them right into the programs and right into the industry. And he and I work extremely closely together to ensure that the courses that I can offer at $5 a credit help fulfill the needs in the CTE world and those certifications that industry needs. And then he finds them the internships, the externships, the pathways, all of that. And we're working together very closely to get you more. We absolutely want that.
Mike is in the middle of that too.
With Zach. So that is absolutely what we're working on. Now, I'm going to tell you that you can open up and look at the state-approved list for any college, and not a lot of them, I know some do, but not a lot of them have a lot of CTE courses, even as options. And so USU Eastern does a good job of offering what we can.
Because they mostly have applied technology colleges.
Yeah, they have their own schools.
Yeah.
Yep, they do.
And we did,
I know.
CEU absorbed it, so your legislatively responsibility is to provide those CTE classes.
And as far as
Which
Utah State,
State ignores,
well,
you take it on. See, there's my point. That's the frustration that we
Okay.
have, is that whole frustration is do whatever they want to do,
okay, so what can I do to help?
whatever these guys ask.
So I know that, like the electronics class is one that, and I believe, doesn't Elias Perez, wasn't he doing that?
So Elias is retiring in June, but yeah, he'll keep working for Carbon. So there are a lot of courses that are not on that state approved list that we offer you anyway, that we are giving you anyway, free to your students, because it is that important. So, for example, diesel, none of the diesel courses are on the state approved list for Utah State to teach, but we teach concurrent enrollment diesel courses,
And the kids get credit.
and the kids get credit. So we at Utah State are trying, basically saying, okay, at a loss of money, we're gonna offer it anyway, because it's important, and there's the need and the demand, and the request has been made. So we're perfectly happy to help offer what we can. But if you say, hey, we want a full-fledged construction program, I can't help you, I don't have it. It has to be what we're already working on. And I think, for the most part, every CTE program, maybe not EDDT as well, Tracy Blake, EDDT, we offer anyway, even if it's not on that state approved list. And I build it and I put it under concurrent enrollment, and every year Logan goes, that's not a real class. And I said, no, that's fine. We just don't charge you. We just don't charge those kids. So what can I do? Because I was under the impression we were doing what we could, and we were trying and working and improving as much as we can. So what do you need
And
to
that's the
do?
report we
It's
get, that
true.
you're improving.
Micah,
We have seen
That's the
great
report we get.
improvement.
on your pathways that you are working with, Zach, what are some of the courses? Like, I know a math for technology is
Yep.
something that that would be helpful because it's going to help those kids with that CTE.
Yeah, and with the 2 apprenticeships, we started one last year, we started several last year, 4 in the spring, and they started another additive manufacturing in fall now. And they include some of those courses. in that set. And they worked out a way with CARES funding this year to offer that at the lower, or actually it's free to our students this year, but that will change once the CARES money's gone. But right, I mean, and Zach's been, well, they both, Sarah and Zach both, and Gary and Dr. Connell, they've all been wonderful to work with and try to get these, listening to the local businesses and to what we're asking. But the issue too is the number of students. If we only have 4 students interested, it's very difficult to justify the expense for them to put in. It's no different than if we have a class of 4 at the high school. We just, as much as we'd love to offer it it just doesn't, it's not feasible always. So the number of students enrolled is also a concern.
And I think, wasn't it about 12 was the like low end limit of students
Or,
for some of those CTE classes?
no, that's the max.
Well, I know it's the max on some of them, but to offer a class, I think.
I don't think I've
Students,
ever, I don't think I've ever heard that. An example is last year, 2 years ago, we offered machining. It's not concurrent enrollment, but we heard there was a need, we heard there was a requirement, so we created a course during the day. We asked Elias Perez to take on an extra course. We paid him for his excess load for machining because Carbon had requested it. There was 1 student in the class. So we will try, we will absolutely try.
And we appreciate that very
But
much.
it's the maintenance, it's the long-term effectiveness, because then you have a class that now we don't offer. So you have a kid that got machining for 1 year, and now it's not offered until he comes to the college and pays the full tuition, because we couldn't maintain that. So there's that.
The other thing we're working on with Zach right now is to try to have classes that are more generalized. So if we can, instead of customizing to one business and one business's needs, then what we're trying to do is say, okay, well, what generalized skill could we offer that would work in the coal mining industry and the electrical industry and the additive manufacturing and construction? Like what's a good set of classes, a good series that really they're not maybe exactly what one employer might need when they leave, but they'll have enough kind of broad understanding that they could easily be trained. So that's kind of where we're leaning right now is,
And that's the answer to Sarah's question, is what do you need? Well, that
Right.
answer is going to come from that
Yeah.
work.
yes. And it
So we're
already
working
has.
on it,
Yeah.
yeah, we're doing, it's just, yeah. So there's a lot going on that we are constantly working. And to the point where Dr. Kano, my job got changed so that I focus on CTE. Yes, I do concurrent enrollment for all the gen eds, but I focus on CTE and trying to get high school kids into programs through concurrent enrollment, which is why I submitted that many classes last year to try to get approved. So I just need to hear what you need. I absolutely cannot guarantee you anything.
What was the problem with all those classes?
With 43 of them, so what happened is I sent the proposals to Bruce Miller. Bruce Miller sent them up the chain. Noel Cockett ultimately is who approves it. So the president of Utah State says who approves what is added to that state approved list. And again, Logan, they don't run CTE programming. It's not in their world. It's not, I always say it's not in their perfect little bubble. So it was hard to convince her of the need. Like, why?
So if we went in with just a few.
It might have been better
few,
than 2 or 3 instead of 43, maybe. But and so what we also do is the high schools need to tell me, what do you need? What classes do you think you would like to see? Working with Zach, because a class here, a class there isn't as advantageous as 4 of them, because look what it leads to, look what it does, look what it focuses them into this program, into this industry, into this certification. That is an easier sell than one here, one here, one here. Yes, please.
Do we have some that there's not, that students are waiting to get in, that there could be more openings, or is that working?
Most everything is on an application basis. So,
But we don't have students waiting in line to get in. I mean, we're able to.
I know that, well,
there's always more applications than there are spots.
yes.
Yes.
And that's what
So
you
is
mean.
that
Yes.
is that
If
a
you're limited to 12, or
possibility?
there are 15 people.
Well, and I
or
think the
18.
problem with some of those applications that these kids don't get approved for is they're really not eligible for it.
Yeah, you
I
still
mean,
have to
they
meet the
don't,
minimum
might only have a
requirements.
1.7
Yeah.
GPA.
Okay, that's what my
And
question
so
is, do
they're,
we
they
have
really
kids
are
that
not
are
a good fit
eligible
for it.
that
'Cause
are
I
not
think-
getting in?
We
I
want
think
to try
they're
really hard to
taking-
ensure they're successful. And I mean, there's nothing worse than a kid as a junior that has a 0.1 GPA at a college level.
Mhm.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
So that's why we implemented applications about 2 or 3 years ago. Almost every program moved to that because we want to ensure that kids are successful, completing and get good grades because that GPA matters. And it's weighted so heavily because it's not only a grade at their high school, it's a grade on their college transcript. And so they know there's 12 spots. And also it's not a matter of we only want to accept 12. It's there's only 12 allowed in the lab. So in the auto lab and especially now, we're even pushing it at 12 because, social distancing. And so those 12 students, sometimes they get more applications, but they do a pretty good job of knowing the rules ahead of time. They have to turn in a transcript, all of that. And so we're getting really good applicants in these kids now that it's sort of becoming the norm that they have to do an application to get into the programs. You'd have to do an application to get into the programs, on the college level. So it's the same.
The only place where I could see you have students waiting to get in is the beginning of the year broadcast classes. There's always more than the 30, and we're pushing it at 30. We're really pushing it at 30. There's more than that. But by the second try and the third try, that number drops off quite a bit anyway. But that's for the academic courses.
And Logan has offered, and we did this last year, I just didn't get any response from the high school. For example, Psychology 1010, there was 46 kids that wanted to take it. It is a statewide broadcast course. Logan goes, Carbon cannot monopolize 46 of those seats. They said, I have a teacher who has time. Would you like it just for your kids? So even Logan's willing to work with those high numbers to make sure that you get what you need. But we need to know what that is.
Just so you know, you referenced our capability to have broadcast classes.
Yeah, would love it if there's more.
With the addition that's being built right now, we're going to vastly improve
Good.
that. So
Is
our
it like
capability very
Four
soon,
rooms?
well, each of those
You know?
rooms can divide into
Two.
two. So we're actually looking at like 8
Awesome.
locations.
Different.
Perfect. That'll be great. That'll be really good. That'll be really, really, really good. Because like statistics is taught broadcast at the same time as some of those others. So that would be great. That'll be awesome.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank
do
you.
anything else for you?
Thank you very well.
Well, I was
You
gonna say
know,
real quick, so, where you're talking about with Zach, how he's
Yeah.
over the pathways now,
Uh-huh.
is that tied into what we've been getting with the surveys and stuff with the CTE, or is that something totally, completely different?
I have no idea what that is.
So, I mean,
I don't know.
Salas might know.
I'm not sure what.
So we've been getting these, surveys that you have to fill out in your CTE classes at the high school, and,
Problem.
Oh, I
They
do know,
kinda
that's
just-
for their needs assessment, so that's for the counseling department.
oh, okay, so I just didn't know if that was at all tied into this. Because if so, like, if you had an interest in one pathway over another, that would be a good way to work back from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So saying like all these kids are like, they're interested in nursing or they're interested in agriculture, then working back from there to like knowing what needs to be added.
And we rely so heavily on the counselors. And so Deborah Worley has picked up where Melissa left off with concurrent enrollment. That's what she was assigned. And so I am not in the school. I don't know your students. And so I rely very heavily for them to go, hey, listen, I got 67 kids in my office asking for, can we make this happen? And even if I can't, I at least will try. I'm perfectly happy to do the legwork. I will try. Because I would rather be able to tell you no because I did everything I could than just no. I'm not even gonna, it's a lot of work for me. So let me do the work. But I have to have something specific. Please, don't make me try to go through Snow's list. Please, please, please don't make me do that. I will if you want me to. But
Thank you.
especially in CTE, please let us help.
We appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Okay?
We recognize and acknowledge all of your efforts and support those and are happy for them. And please don't take what I in particular said personal, because it's not aimed at you,
That's fine.
but it's aimed at, please make sure that they understand the frustrations of public education.
And I think though that there is power in a voice. So
Yeah.
because we are dictated by the legislature, let them know.
Well,
They don't
but
know what's
we're not-
happening in
and see,
crisis,
and
someone
that-
doesn't tell
That's
them.
part of the frustration is we are not necessarily dictated by the legislature, we're dictated by Noel Crockett a lot.
Yeah, we are.
And-
It's a
and-
twofold, but she
And so
ultimately has
that's
to answer to them too.
the-
So it's everybody. There's
Yeah.
big meetings.
Yeah.
There's lots of yelling. They're fun to go to. So,
Been
but
there.
yeah, let me know what I can do to help, please. That's my
Okay,
job.
thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay,
All right, we'll be really quick. 9 minutes. I'm sure I'll give you this, the rest might have taken on passing these.
Did somebody name this Apple because it's with teaching?
Yeah, I think they worked really hard to come
Really
up
hard
with
on
that
I was gonna say,
I
yeah.
acronym.
You know, we love acronyms, and I guess they did that. So, just a brief introduction, the state is in the process of changing, well, actually, it was active July 1st. They've changed the licensing structure, the entire structure for how they do teacher licenses from now on. And so there's a bit of a transition, moving teachers who weren't what we would call before a level 2 or level 3 now to a professional license, and then RLs or APTs, they're trying to kind of bridge those together and blend those within the new system. But I thought I'd give you just a really brief overview first. The colored paper that I gave you just kind of shows briefly what the 3 levels of educator licensing are now. Professional license is someone who's gone through a teaching program. They majored in elementary education, or they majored in English teacher education at a university. So they've gone through a university program with student teaching, and they graduated with a bachelor's in education, either for elementary or content area in secondary. Then you have an associate level, and these are for teachers who have some other degree. Maybe they have a bachelor's in just English or in technical writing, but they want to be an English teacher. So they're not yet ready, they're not fully certified as a teacher, but they have the content down. They would be under an associate license
it says or enrolled here.
or enrolled. And so they're either outside of the area in a content area, and they need to just get their education courses
Oh, so they have to have a bachelor's degree.
as one piece. So that's one, is
So
that
it's
you have a
not-
bachelor in a related field, but you just need your teaching license and your pedagogy classes. Or like it says, you are already enrolled in that teaching program. So you're not finished yet, but you are enrolled and you're,
But you do have a
Actively taking
bachelor's,
classes.
already have a
no,
bachelor's.
that they're two
Oh,
different things.
Okay, so you can either be enrolled or have a bachelor's.
Yes.
Okay,
Then the LEA specific is for people who are not, maybe not in either. Maybe they don't have a bachelor's yet. Maybe they're not fully enrolled in a teaching program yet. And this also is where your CTE teachers can come in. So teachers who have industry experience, but maybe there's not even a bachelor's available in that area. Or maybe they have 20 years of experience in an industry-related field, and they just need the pedagogy classes as well. So those are the 3 areas where you can be licensed as an educator. And then under those,
we don't license them anymore. It's the state that licenses them now.
so we make recommendations, but right, we have to be approved. And so, geez, I guess I started, I don't know, March 13th, seems like it was 10 years ago. I think it was before then that we started our process. We had to write our own Apple plan. So we've done that, we've developed our plan, it's been approved now with USDE. And part of that plan was to describe how we would then decide where a teacher would fall. They have let us become the gatekeeper of basically the first screener. So we can look at a college transcript now from an applicant, and we can decide whether they fall under professional associate or LEA, and then make our recommendation. Because our plan was approved, we've been given the authority to do that. And then we still need to turn our names over to the state and justify that, but we are given that first kind of screening of authority to do that. So once we decide what level of license the teacher is on, then there are 14 license areas of concentration, and you can see those there. And then under that, there are many more endorsements than this. This is kind of a shortened list. But so a teacher, for instance, if I have an elementary education major, that's maybe where I stop, or maybe I have a reading endorsement, or maybe I have a math endorsement, or so the endorsements are almost like a bonus on top of the areas of concentration, unless it's required for that field, which there are some that are. So that's just kind of a basic overview. Most of our teachers are professionally licensed already. Anyone who is who has the bachelor's degree in education has already been adopted into the professional license. The people who were on APTs and ARLs are likely on the associate license, but some of them still have been put on a professional license with the same expiration date that they had on their previous plan. So we do have several who are coming up that are going to expire in 2021 or 2022 based on when they were put in the APT or the ARL, and then they'll just be reevaluated at that time. So what we're doing today, what I'm asking for is,
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
So if someone's in the middle of their program, say they did APT,
okay,
and it's like a 3-year program?
it
Can
depends
be.
what
Can
they,
be?
They can take up to 3.
up to 3
Okay.
years.
Now you have Apple, which is, if they're after year 1 of a 3-year program, are they going to automatically be required to switch? Can they finish an APT?
They'll finish it out as a professionally licensed teacher with an expiration date, and then they'll be reevaluated at that time. So if I was on APT before, and I look up my Cactus, it'll probably show professional. And then it'll have the same expiration date that it did before. So if I had 2 years left, it might show that in 2022, my license will expire. So I'll have time between now and then to show the state that I have completed everything I was supposed to complete. I've finished my program, I've taken my praxis assessments, I've gotten my satisfactory evaluation, and I can show all of that. I've had all my professional development, my 200 hours, and my suicide prevention training, and all the things they
Mentoring.
require. And then if I do that, then they'll say, okay, you are finished, and now you're totally switched over to professional with a 5-year expiration. So every 5 years, all teachers have to renew their license anyway. So you're switched from that shortened period, whatever it was, 1, 2, or 3, to now once they get the professional, they'll be on a 5-year cycle.
But are they restricted to just working in this district?
No, it's a statewide, that part is a statewide. Now, I don't know for sure about like a CTE, LEA specific, well, it says LEA specific, it's for your district. It's possible, I guess, that someone who is certified under us as an LEA specific could potentially take what we've done for them to another district and ask for them to also be approved, but their board would have to approve those as well. So the idea that someone's going to be licensed only for one district and allowed nowhere else in the state is kind of out of this plan now, except that they'd have to get local approval on LEA specific no matter where they went.
But that LEA specific license doesn't really transfer to another LEA, but it's really just a process of
Getting
their
approved.
board
Getting
approving.
approval.
Yeah, right.
And then now they're approved.
Right.
Okay.
So the list that I have shared with you, and I know it's small print, I'm sorry, but if you have any questions, we can go through this. There are a few things I want to point out. The third person down on your list, the third line in the grade starts with 7-1. That person has already been approved for an associate license, but it's not in Cactus yet. And so some of these, even though they probably won't end the year on an LEA specific, we're still asking for your approval to get them started on LEA specific tonight, because we have to turn this list in by October 30th. And because of COVID, no one is working physically at the well, I shouldn't say no one, but most of their staff, only the very upper administration is actually physically going to USD's office. Most of their employees are home, which has caused a bit of a bottleneck for a lot of this. So in working from home, it's slowed down some of our licensing. So what we're asking you is to approve all of these as LEA specific, knowing that many of them, that third one down, also the fourth one down, she should be finished during this school year, which will turn her over to a professional license. Then there are 3 that are non-teachers. If you look in the middle, it says educator already has a license area. Those 3 are brand new positions for us, and they're new across the state, and the state hasn't yet decided how to manage that license. And so what they told us is for now, we'll get them LEA approved, because they will likely, well, they are currently working under a DOPL license, but that doesn't necessarily transfer to the teaching license, and they're trying to work out statewide how to make that work the best. But for now, we'll ask for an LEA specific until that's done. The one just under those, it's blank in the middle, right under the last part that says educator already has a license. This one, we may have to discuss at a later time. We're not sure how that one is going to go. That did not transfer from the old system to the new, and I'm working very diligently with the state to figure out what to do on that one. For now, we will ask for LEA specific, but they may be asked to go through an entire program. And then the rest on the bottom 4, all are likely or already have finished what they've needed to do to become professionally licensed. But again, that may take a couple of months or maybe even longer, maybe till January. So we'll work under LEA specific until we can switch all of those over to professional, because they will be finishing or have finished their programs, have taken praxis exams, and they're just waiting for paperwork to go through. But we hate to have them not be licensed at all in between now and the time that they're professionally licensed.
So the one that's 4th from the bottom,
Yes.
I see nothing there that they went to any college courses or.
So, yes,
That's
and that
one
was a
that's currently enrolled. That's
special
what Wayne was asking about.
circumstance. Yes, and she has started her, so she'll actually, once she actually gets started in a program, she'll turn over to an associate license until she's finished. But LEA specific until we have all that paperwork.
And she's been the one that's functioned so well as a.
No, I understand. I know who she is. I understand what she's done for the class and the school, all that stuff. I see nothing there that says she's been enrolled in a college.
Right, and that's, well, we have the paperwork, but it
Okay.
hasn't come through the state yet, and we have to operate on what's on Cactus. So the biggest deal is that these LEA specific licenses have to be sent to USBE by October 30th. And well, as you know, this was a recent change.
Mhm.
And so there wasn't a way to get her documentation to them by October 30th. So we thought if we got her board approved for the LEA specific, once we get her paperwork through Cactus, then we can turn her over to the associate license, and she would actually leave this list.
You guys approve that.
Well, this looks like a lot of careful consideration and work. Thank you, Monica,
Thank you.
for that. And taking care of these people, making sure that we're good. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you have any questions on any of?
And this is an action item on the agenda, so we can bring it all back up.
Sure,
And like it
yeah,
can come
if there's
back
any more
up
questions.
later too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. We have some items for closed session. Is there a motion to move to closed session, to convene the closed session for the discussion of character, professional competence, or physical and mental health of an individual? I guess that covers it, huh? Yeah,
So
I'll make that motion.
it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Wayne, aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll return at the conclusion of the closed session. Let's see. I need some juice going, feed me up. Oh, gotta take all this off in order for it to see my face. Okay, welcome, everyone. It is October 14th, 2020. It's 5:04 in the afternoon. We are meeting in our regularly scheduled board meeting. All board members are present except for Kristen, as she's excused because of illness. We anticipate her coming back. And welcome, Darren.
Thank you.
What's the report?
Well, we won
Yay, all right.
Carbon Soccer,
Yeah.
first round of state playoffs. So they go to Morgan on Saturday.
Morgan on Saturday. Okay. Whew. All right. Okay, well, if you'll all rise and join us, Hunter will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wayne, I should mention Sadie was playing in the game.
Oh,
She could give
should
a
have asked Sadie, how'd it go?
Great.
Great, so tell us. What was the score? Did you get a hat trick?
No, it was only 1-0.
1-0. All right, well, congratulations, and we'll do that again here in just a second. In fact, why don't we, are there any Darren, do you have
I
any
haven't
public
received
comments? Are we missing any public comments that we should have? Okay, well, let's move to recognition then.
Okay, we are so honored to be able to acknowledge our Carbon High athletes who have achieved the academic all-state rank for their sport. I'll just read what it says there. In order to achieve this award, they must have a cumulative GPA of 4.0 or meet the sliding scale requirements with their ACT score. So huge accomplishment out of all the students who participate in athletics to be named an academic all-state. We really appreciate all the work that goes into that by the students, their teachers, and their parent support. So we'll start out with girls tennis. I'm going to make this bigger so that everybody can see it better. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Okay, it's for girls tennis. It's Elizabeth Pugliese. Is she here?
Yes.
Okay, come on up. We have something for you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Yeah, hang on.
Just stay right there.
Stay there. Now we have Erin Stromness from Girls Cross Country. Katie Jones from volleyball. Tara Lee from volleyball. And Sadie Johnson from girls soccer. And Easton Horsley from football. There.
Yeah, parents, if you'd like to come on up, please do.
Maybe they can stand closer together in front of
Can
mine.
you get them all that way?
You guys wanna-
You want to get forward?
I'm moving closer to the
Move in
center.
front of the
Together in
podium
front
and
of the
scoot
Yeah, move in
microphone.
front of the
together.
podium.
There you
There
go.
you go.
It's amazing that Easton's at least twice the size of Katie.
Yeah.
No?
You guys need to smile.
Good work, guys.
Yeah.
Easton, South Severe's better watch out, right?
That's right.
Go Dino. Here we go.
Thank you so much for your excellence all over the place.
You can stay and listen to the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but it does not get better.
That was the high point.
That's right. Yeah.
Where's he going?
Where's he going?
Yeah.
He's going with his grandkids.
Keith, get back in here. I call him.
Oh.
See, we're gonna talk about this. Thanks. Can't be that. Okay, let's move on to board member reports. Hunter,
Yes.
so tell us a little bit about your feelings with this concurrent enrollment.
So let's see, this year I have 1050, I'm taking CAT from Mr. Perez, and I have physics next semester that's over at the college. So I think that it's a really good program. Like, I think that it's something that we need. And I also like the idea that we talked about, like, expanding upon it. And I feel like that would just kind of be the best thing, is to figure out what the industries need in the area and what the students want in the area. Because they mentioned talking about like an electronics class. And from Dr. Blake, which I know he's retired at this point, but I had never heard of an electronics class being offered concurrently. But that would be something I totally would have done if I would have known about it. So yeah, I feel like just the expansion would be the best thing. Just being able to get more of those CTE courses. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Nothing really.
All right, Melissa.
Just to double up on that, I do think it's a great program. I think we were talking about two different things at first, and I think that was good to streamline that. I know that Zach and Mike are going to be working really close together, and they've had John Brooks up at the high school helping them with that too. You know, even different than the concurrent enrollment with Mrs. Worley. Electronics we had years ago with Ross Sacco. Well, you guys,
That was a while.
and that was when I started, he was still doing that, but when he left, the program left with him. So I think some of those would be good to have. The only other thing, I volunteered for the college application day that they did at the high school. A little sad, but expected. The participation seemed to be very low. I think it was just mostly because there were no representatives there. The only representative there was the USU one, the first part of it. But they did do a Skype with a U of U guy. And that classroom had about 35 kids in it filling out one for the U of U. And the U of U for the first time waived their application fee too. So that was really good. So I think, I don't know, it just seemed like there wasn't quite as many kids as there had been in the past, or seniors participating, but expected with the situation right now. And because there were no representatives there, but they were all able to get the information and sit down and fill out applications and stuff. And then I'd just like to kind of send my condolences to the Krompel family. We lost Bill. He was a great teacher. A funny story about Bill Krompel. When he was in the high school, And we had started AAA, I think, at one point, which was the program where kids needed to, well, maybe it wasn't that. Anyway, there was an opportunity. We needed someone to cover a classroom full of students who were not eligible to go to an assembly for one reason or another. And so we had Bill Krompel do it. He volunteered. We had him do it. And afterwards, he came in and he said, I didn't know we even had students like that at the school, because he was AP, Cal teacher and stuff. But Bill was a great guy, but I know that he'd been ill and then had that accident a few years ago, and so, but, him and Joni, his wife, were both great educators in the district, so.
I had the opportunity of taking algebra from Mr. Crumple in the 9th grade, and then college algebra from him at CE. So I had both ends of him, and I still can't add or subtract.
What is the scorpion? Can you do the scorpion?
I have no idea. Are we talking his kung fu stuff?
I don't know,
Yeah.
he just said they did a scorpion. Micah, do you know? You
All
probably
I
have.
know is he used to, when we throw things in his classroom, like he would say that there is no unlawful launching of a projectile in the classroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who
Yeah.
experience both he and him.
Okay, Jeff,
As board members, if you're curious how things are moving along at the high school with the new construction, it's a great day to go to the high school because the weather's beautiful. The construction is progressing amazingly fast. The foundation work is, if not all done, it's very, very close to being all done on the courtyard part of things. It's just really looking good. I am curious to know what progress we've made in Helper. At what point are we going to get to see some things and really make those final decisions? But I'm a little excited about that. But anyway, I had an opportunity to come to go to a number of the schools and just kind of see what's going on. A couple of years ago at Mount Harmon Middle School, they talked about how crazy it is, and did we need to split this or do that, or maybe send some of the kids across the roads. So I went there and I went as classes were changing. The kids are on it. They know they've got 7 minutes. And so they're out one door, down the hall, in another door. There's no messing around. Well, there's a little messing around, but not much messing around. And they're in school for a reason, and they understand that. So I was impressed. I think Mount Harmon's running their school very well right now. So that's all.
B.
Just thought it was going to be interesting this year with our USBA meetings being virtual rather than attending. So that's going to be
So our USBA meetings are officially going to be virtual.
so that will be.
No bread pudding.
No bread pudding.
Yeah, no.
No bread
Yeah.
pudding.
And no
No
Saturday
Saturday.
sessions,
No
no
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday,
So-
just Thursday night and Friday.
Well, anyway, that was just, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, I have one thing. I've received several inquiries and some pictures of parents very concerned about their children's hands with all the hand sanitizer that's going on. Can we provide some lotion also at the same time for these kids? Because we
haven't heard that one yet, so.
Well, there's several pictures that are out there that are pretty scary.
Pretty scary looking.
Yeah, my wife has mentioned it's the back of the hands that really suffer.
Well,
So she'll tell them, just put it and do like this, or rub it on the inside of your hands, because that's the part you touch with anyway.
well,
But it's the knuckles that start to bleed and crack, and the
and
corners, and
I probably sanitize my hands 20 times a day with where I work, but I found the one particular one that I can use, and that's the one that we've got there. Here, we don't give them the opportunity, because how can we with 3,500 students to go through that? But adding maybe a lotion to the classroom, that they can motion their hands several times a day would be
I
great.
think we can definitely do that. That's just something we haven't thought of. So yeah, thank you. We'll work on that.
Now that you mention it, I think, yeah, that happens to me too, but it never occurred.
Yeah, these poor little kids, some of them are just all swollen up, some of them are red, some of them even have some sores on them.
Yeah.
so.
No, yeah.
And it's just gonna get worse in the wintertime.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, superintendent.
Okay, just a few things. Not going to take too long, but I did want to just touch on extracurricular participation and just celebrate the fact that all of our sports and other extracurriculars have happened this fall. Everything from drill and cheer to football and cross country and
See, it was cross-country yesterday or tomorrow?
their state is, I think it's next week.
Next week.
Yeah, they did it.
I was gonna ask, and she got.
I'm pretty sure it's next week. It's their state. But I think the reason why we've been able to pull that off is that UHSAA has jumped right on board with a lot of their recommendations, and I wanted to provide the board with just an idea of what we're looking forward to in winter sports. With the changes.
Cannot read that.
With the changes that the governor made, we went from red, yellow, and green. We dramatically changed it to high, moderate, and low.
Yeah,
So that would be,
they just took an opportunity to change all the rules underneath it, and so
Yeah.
we need a new name for these.
which is, and we really like the changes that the governor has proposed. And I just wanted to just give you a very basic idea of what our teams are having to do. All of our extracurriculars, we have this requirement that if we're not complying, it's always kind of one of those things we might have to, so we say,
If you were at the homecoming game, Mr. Bianco made that pretty clear several times.
yeah, and we really tried to reinforce that, let's comply so that we can play. It's all for the kids. And that's masks. Coaches are required to wear masks. Participants are, you see the word encouraged. They don't want us to tase people like you see in some of the news across the country. We're not going to do that, but we are going to continue to encourage it and do our very best. And for the most part, people are doing a great job.
Didn't say you couldn't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true. How do you encourage? Yeah, that's the question. So signage, and then.
I always wondered how come Darren's kids are so well behaved.
So each of the sports actually have very detailed requirements now too from the UHSAA, which we really love and we fully support. We're encouraging, well, we're not just encouraging, we're requiring our middle schools to also follow UHSAA guidance in these areas. So we just wanted to make sure that the board has that information and if there's any questions that we can answer. But our teams are doing great with it. They have to temperature check before they get on a bus to go anywhere, and they have to fill out these forms that go through the symptoms, and they have to make sure that they don't have them. So celebrate that. And then just another thing that we thought was pretty awesome is that in the day of a pandemic, that we were still able to pull off homecoming. And not just pull it off, but it went off really well. And they did have to make some adjustments. Some of the things that they traditionally do for homecoming had to be adjusted, but for the most part, they were able to do what they wanted to do. So things like Decade Day and Jungle Safari, with a field day, they did a movie, which they watched Sandlot, Out of This World. They had a frat boy day, which I don't really understand, but
This day, don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure I'm sure somebody.
They haven't been to college yet, that's,
what that is, but in cooperation with the city, we were able to do the parade. They were very helpful and willing to do whatever needed to be done to help that parade come off, and it was very well attended. So just a shout out to everyone involved in homecoming. The other thing we wanted to highlight is we received a really nice donation from Rocky Mountain Power for $2,400 for lotion, it turns out.
yeah. That's the first thing that popped in my mind was, bam.
Yeah. So we're grateful for that. It's a very wonderful gift that they've found a way to help us, and we have lots of need, so we really appreciate it. Finally, we have applied for a broadband grant, broadband hotspot grant, and we were awarded that grant. So we're very excited to be able to work with Emory Telecom, and we're going to be able to provide 226 households with internet service for 9 months. And the way that's going to work is when we've identified somebody who needs it, we're going to give them a little voucher with the information. All they have to do is make a phone call, and they come out, they hook them up, get them set up, and off they go for 9 months. So it's pretty awesome. That might last. Who knows how long that'll last us? But as soon as we identify somebody who needs it, that's when we're going to be sending that out.
How, do we have a protocol set aside that how we're going to determine how we're going to find out?
We're first going to just work with counselors and principals on who we already know. And so we'll contact those right off. And then what we don't want to do is make a huge advertising, hey, drop your service and you can have it for free for 9 months. That's not what we want. We want to make sure we're targeting the right people. So when students are put on quarantine or they're sick and they want to join remotely and we want them to, and we find out, oh, you can't, we're going to get you internet. If we, heaven forbid, we have to go to virtual learning, we will know those students right now immediately. But we know a lot of students from last year because of all of the virtual work. So we think we're going to be able to identify a lot right up front, and then all the rest kind of as they surface. And that's it for my report, unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's move on to information and discussion, and let's talk about since we're on that, the digital teaching.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Thomas, and as you know, I've been hired as the digital learning teacher. So, Liz, would you mind just pulling up?
You want to just run the mouse?
Yeah, I can do that. That's perfect. So, what we are going to look at is it's been such a joy already being in the school district. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad kids are back in school, and it's just, I'm actually very impressed. I came from California, from Los Angeles, and I taught in a private school where we had lots and lots and lots of technology and used it all day, every day from preschool to 8th grade where I taught. And I've taught actually all the way from TK to 8th grade. So I have a lot of experience in the classroom with the kids. And I taught Spanish for a while. I taught first grade for a while. I got my master's in reading, all online. And so I feel like I've had a lot of experience in my short 7 years of my professional career as using technology with education. So what I decided to do over the summer after I was hired was they said I could take over kind of the tech cafe that was happening before. And so I changed, I created a little website, and so there's a phone number to reach me during the school day, and they can click on this little button and it'll take you right to my contact page. And then here, this is my home page, and it has all kinds of these little icons take you to each thing that's up here. So I started to do a little tech tip of the week. So there's little videos that teachers can watch, and they're only 2 minutes, but they give you really good ideas of how you can use tech right there, right then in your classroom. We worked on Canvas and Google Classroom. So those are the two learning management systems that the district's using. So I became an expert as much as I could be over in a short amount of time on Google Classroom and on Canvas. And so whenever teachers have questions, they email me, I'm able to go in, or I'm able to work remotely on their desktop to help them understand how to fix something that's not working or use something that they don't know how to use. And then there's all kinds of other things that have actually gotten, this little page is actually really important because these top websites are ones we have paid through the state, free accounts for all the teachers and most of the students. So I'm actually just got certified too in Adobe. And so I've taken a lot of professional development courses in the time that I'm not answering questions from teachers to help them understand how to use all this technology to the best of their ability. Because you can't teach your students how to use it if you don't know how to use it yourself. And so, and I also have done trainings in October and September. I did 2 a month, just so that they were more big group trainings here at the district office in the technology center, so that teachers, and I'll send out an email about twice a month so that I just remind them, like, here's all your resources, here's where to go if you need something. And then my favorite thing about the job so far is that I've been able to go into the classrooms, not only to help the teachers plan how to use their technology, but a lot of the teachers have said, well, how's my first grader can know how to log into their email, use their password, get onto the Google Classroom, like all those things. I don't have, like, there's no time in the day when I had to teach all the other things to get my kids to know how to use the technology. So I've been spending time in the schools in small groups with the kids, just teaching them, practicing typing out their email, getting into the classroom, doing a little lesson with me. And so that way, if they ever were at home, they're not just gonna sit there like they don't know what to do because they've already practiced in the classroom. So that's why I'm so thankful. If we ever do have to go back to virtual learning, then those kids, the teachers actually have the resources right now to say, hey, here's how you do this, and here's how you would do it if you were at home. And the very last thing, I've just started doing this more, like all these little tutorial videos that I have, I do the training sessions, I record them so they are put online as well in case somebody wasn't able to attend in person or on a Google Meet, then they're able to watch them here anytime they like. And then the last thing I was gonna say, is that I have been doing more like tutorials for the parents, because a lot of the teachers are like, well, yeah, the kids know how to get on it, but when they get home, it doesn't look like that on their computer. So I've done some tutorials, just little videos for the teachers to send out to the parents to say, here's how you get into their email, here's how you get into their Google Classroom or their Canvas, those things, especially more for the younger grades, because sometimes they don't know how to, so having them get into a virtual classroom. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing so far. Does anybody have any questions or?
2 questions.
Yes.
Where do you see that you might want to expand what you do?
Where do I say it again?
Where do you see that you might want to expand to be even more valuable to the students?
I would say the biggest thing would be maybe to have a day. Each day I go to a different school, and then everybody just knows I'm on the campus there. And then that way, if they are using technology in the classroom, I can go in and I can at least just be a second person that's helping the teachers, that's giving them new ideas. I think a lot of it is more so the teachers understanding that I'm there as a resource, and since this has never been a job before, I would love my days to be filled, with sitting with teachers, sitting in their lessons, not there to critique them, but more so just to come alongside them to say, well, let's try it this way, or let's, because I always think 2 minds are better than 1. And so having that extra person that is focused on the technology side of it and really knows the ins and outs of all the things that we have paid accounts for, then for the students, that learning comes alive. And it wouldn't just be for virtual learning, but in the classroom when they're using the tech, like I said, it takes a long time for the kids to the kids are actually super intuitive and can figure it out pretty quickly, but if they've never done it before, it takes a lot of time to front load all of the stuff of where to click, what to do, and if you have one teacher in there and 20 students, and everyone's like, no, it's not working, I'm hoping I can be, a resource more, that more teachers will be asking me to come in and help them in whatever they need, if that makes sense.
Chelsea, is this work getting down to the teachers, that all this is available?
Oh, yeah. Stephanie had Stephanie in her class today,
Yeah, she came and took care of the whole first grade
And-
team level.
and she is amazing. I mean, really, we say, hey, Stephanie, I emailed her, can you do this? Can you send this out to my teachers? I think it would be so good if they just had a reminder about how to look at their SIS. And it's like magic, it gets done. And then Stephanie wants all of her, I don't know what she had her working on today in her class, but I know in our kindergarten class, they wanted to know how to log into Google Classroom. And all of a sudden, Stephanie appears and teaches all of the kindergartners how to log into Google Classroom on their iPad. And so it's really a magical button. You just email Stephanie and then things happen and it's fast and it's amazing. So yeah, it's working.
We have received a lot of great reports from teachers who are just saying, wow.
This is cool.
Thank you.
So my second question is, we have a very robust technology department, I think. Phil and his whole team do very well, a lot of support. But I wonder sometimes, because I've seen it in our industry where I work, we get a little myopic. You're a fresh set of eyes on this thing.
Correct.
Is there someplace we need to be looking?
Great question.
For example, Broome Point's here to modify their plan so they can get more classroom sets on their which it was iPads,
On the Chromebooks.
Chromebooks. So I guess that's my question is, are you on the lookout of things we need to do?
That's such a good question. So I joined a cohort through USBE. I joined lots of different little groups where I'm talking to all the people in Utah, probably on a weekly or monthly basis. There's one monthly meeting and then there's a few bi-monthly meetings that we talk about what are the most innovative things that are going on right now? How are we using this and how are we using that? I've actually worked with Nathan in the
Southeast Service Center.
Yes, exactly. And he was telling me all the different STEM things that he has available to kids and all that. So I guess there are lots of things that we can be using. I really, from where I came from too in Los Angeles, where we were using all kinds of technology, I think this district is doing an incredible job at implementing and using technology. I think there are a lot of teachers. I think the Chromebooks, the fact that all the kids have Chromebooks, that is beyond. And I guess too, more so that it would be that we take what we have with the technology. I don't think there's really anything you're missing out that you don't have access to yet. I think it's really the teachers understanding in depth what we have access to. Because I don't even think, they're just even the online library that they have access to. I was doing a training on it and someone was like, I've never even gone on this website before. So I don't think it's that we don't have the right resources. I think that we don't know how to utilize them to the best of our ability yet. So that's kind of where I'm hoping
And
to
that's really,
That was the right
reason for
answer.
Stephanie's position.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. She came and visited with all of our principals at our last principal meeting, just to let them know, what she does. And I think some of them probably contacted you for PD Day coming up, so.
Yes, and the other thing is too, I think once I'm out of school and someone says something and it's oh, she was really helpful, then other people are more willing to reach out. So the more I can get myself, even emailing teachers just saying, hey, can I help you with this? It makes it easier and then I'm able to, people will start to hear the buzz. But I think just since it's such a new position, people don't even quite know what to ask me or use me for. So I'm doing my best to put myself out there, email the teachers and the principals a couple times a month just to remind them what I have the access to and all that good stuff. So.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna say, I think that this is really good because I can't say how many classes I've had that the teacher will start and be like, oh, we're using Canvas this year, or we're using Google Classroom, and that drops off 2 weeks into the class. And so like you said, being able to utilize the resources that they have, And when like teachers use Canvas well, it's so nice. When they use Google Classroom well, it's so nice. But what isn't nice is when they start it 2 weeks in and then you never hear from it again. Then it's just kind of frustrating at that point. So I think that this is really good to be able to like kind of just utilize the stuff that we have.
Do you think they're dropping it off because they're not really familiar with it?
I don't know whether it's that. I feel like it is in some cases. And I don't know, maybe it's just like a mindset that it's like kind of opposed to using those kind of things in some cases.
I think I've talked to a few teachers too, and they think, it's worked this way for this long, so then I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because it's status quo and it's easy to stay there.
Yeah.
And that's, we're all guilty of doing things like that. And at the same time, I think once they have somebody sitting next to them, planning their lessons with them, it takes I can just get by, so if I can really sit with teachers and make them see, and even, I don't know what you thought, Stephanie, but like, the kids really engage differently when you put technology in front of them. It's a weird thing, and it kind of creeps me out, but I'm like, but they really do, like,
They're mesmerized.
they're mesmerized by it. And so if you can't, like, I always tell teachers, like, I know it's, and a lot of times teachers feel insecure because they don't feel, like I said, that they know the technology well enough to use it. But if they don't use it, they're never going to use it. So if I can little by little, even I tell them, just use one lesson a week or one, and so getting that momentum and having the kids, I say, the more they log into their Google Classroom, the faster they're going to be able to do it at home. And the more they, it's just the repetition and the practice of it. But if the teachers aren't used to doing it and they just kind of say, okay, well, we have to have a Google Classroom, so we're going to set one up, and then I'm just going to do the rest of my teaching like I used to do. So it's like one of those things where you would really want, and I know I'm only one person, but the people that have latched on and I can, like, when I do give a little feedback out to the teachers once I meet with them, and every single person, I haven't gotten one thing. I ask if like the meeting was helpful, if all their questions were addressed, if they have a better understanding of how to integrate it, if they'll continue to schedule sessions, and everyone puts agree. So I haven't had one, negative thing like, oh no, that wasn't really worth my time. So I think anybody that's used me has really found the value in what and not that I know all the answers either, because there's a lot of times when I'm sitting with somebody that it's more so like, let's use both of our brains to make it work. And so.
I have a question. I just randomly was on the site here and came to the Google Slides, and it doesn't like me.
Do you have a Carbon Schools district?
No. I
But,
have a
yes.
Gmail here, but it's not CSD.
Right, so all my things only are openable to a CSD email.
You're not
You
allowed.
have one, you have one, you just don't use it.
I've never seen it.
And I think mostly for safety.
That's Darren's fault.
For not to be all public on the
Yeah,
internet.
all of you have one.
Yeah.
We all have one. I
You
wonder
can
how
always-
many, I wonder how many emails I've got on there.
Hundreds.
You can click the button that says request access. They'll send me an email, I'll give you that.
No, make
No, make him get the other one
How
up.
to use this district email.
That's right.
Don't let him slide by.
That's just another one I've got to add to my.
Yeah, that's why we
email
don't,
list.
that's why we
I already
haven't
have
made you use
10 on
it.
my email list that comes
Yeah.
up. All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
I think
Hunter,
it
have you
sounds
got-
great.
Yeah, I just really think this is awesome. Like, thank you so much. Like, as a student, like, for the teachers to be able to understand what's happening, it's so nice, and especially
Just bring them into the 2020
You're
year, right?
kind of freaking out.
Kicking and screaming.
like from the sake of like being mean to anybody, it's just it's nice to like be able to that they would know what's going on, and especially with stuff like Canvas, because Canvas is like every single university, at least like that's what they utilize. So part of it's almost the learning curve of when I'm in high school, I need to learn how to use Canvas before I go off to college, because it would be a learning curve, and being able to know how to use Canvas and like what resources are there is so nice now.
Yes, because then you can focus on the learning.
Mhm.
So- Does this position fall under tech, under?
It falls under
District
under
office?
us.
Under the district office?
She's her own
Stacy
entity?
Stacy, Micah, and I are sharing the
You guys don't know how to.
wonderful blessing of
control
being
her,
able to
though.
work with Stephanie.
So we actually use Stephanie as our standard of happiness and. And we actually say things like, you're not channeling your inner Stephanie today. She doesn't even know that. So she's heard that, but we actually use her as a whole new standard because Stacy and I are not nice enough.
They stink at it.
You're Stephanie shaming each other?
So there's Stephanie Shane. So is that a bullying practice that's going on now?
It's
Peer
peer
pr-
pressure. It's
Positive peer pressure, right? Okay.
Wow. Good job.
All right.
Okay, well, good. Well, if there's no more questions. It was so nice to meet you.
So I'll have to remind Lee often, you're not channeling your inner Stephanie.
You do that.
I don't know that Lee has an inner Stephanie yet. We're gonna have to get one transplanted.
It's not gonna happen.
All right,
I
well,
saved that.
thank you. Let's move on to the action items and invite our representative from Brew and Point to come up.
Thank you for letting me fail, I guess, on our last board meeting. I'm looking at names.
I can't remember where yours is on the
And
list
I've
here.
memorized eyes. That's not gonna
No,
happen.
it's like,
So, what do you look like? So this is what I look like without my mask.
there you go.
There we go.
So I'm just gonna really briefly, I know that you guys saw our TSSA plan, last board meeting, but I'm just gonna let you have it again. So with our TSSA plan, our academic goals really is to make sure that to ensure that our students are reading fluently enough in order to aid in their comprehension. And we're looking at a year and a half worth of growth instead of just a typical year's worth of growth because we really want to close the gap, the achievement gap. And so what on that behavior is we have developed an effective school-wide behavior system, starting with our tier one, our school expectations or school-wide expectations, along with our classroom critical behaviors and critical expectations. And then we've developed a tracking system. It's not HERO. We are moving into using the HERO program more often for better. But I want to report on Betty. Says we will decrease by at least 80% or eliminate incidences of disruption or aggressive behaviors by the end of the year. We've had one all year long. Our office referrals are down to nothing. I'm knocking for you. Knock on wood. So we've just, and that has very little to do with a change in administration. It has everything to do with the school-wide expectations being very explicit, very well taught, and then teachers teaching the classroom expectations thoroughly and then holding students accountable to those expectations. So,
But we do want to commend Connie for coming into a school that was struggling in that area of having clear expectations and has been able to implement. And so she's quick to, humbly give credit elsewhere, but that part doesn't happen without leadership, so.
well, I have phenomenal teachers that listen and follow directions the first time. Anyway, so those are our two goals. And so how we're going to use our TSSA funds is the first one, I wanted to increase the amount of time that some of our paraprofessionals are in the school so that we can increase the time that they are working with our students in small groups. We know that when students struggle, they do need extra support, and we just wanted to be able to give them extra support with additional support staff, not just with their teacher. So, and this has worked really well. We've got our paraprofessionals are overworked still, but They have more time for being overworked. So $4,600 was to increase paraprofessional hours in order for more students to receive focused reading / comprehension instruction in small group settings. So, and then our behavior goal really, or our expenditures really is just for the positive behavior celebrations. And we have not had a positive behavior celebration as of yet. So, well, I mean, as far as school-wide is concerned, we celebrate our kids all the time, but our school-wide positive celebration for students that have not had any office referrals, that's every student in our school right now. For students that haven't been referred to our hibernation station, or which is our reset room, I'm not taking credit for that one. That's Christy Bishop all the way. She's so awesome.
Round Point Bears.
That sounds awesome.
That's great.
Can I come?
Yeah.
Take a little nap.
So
Turn the
really,
lights
our hibernation station really has been used as a reset, where students come in before there's an incident to take a breath, to decompress, to just reset and then go back to class. We've had two students in there to receive a little bit of social skills lessons, but it's been utilized I don't want to say this because I don't want to get rid of our reset room, but it hasn't been utilized as much as we thought it was going to be, because the school-wide behavior has, I mean, I'll just let you know, and I think Lance knows this, I'm scared. I was really scared after hearing some of the behavior issues, of course, after I was hired.
We say no.
That's how we do it. That's how we get you.
But I'll tell you, I've seen none of it, and really is because I think with just a little bit, I'll take a little credit, Lance, with a little bit of guidance in how to set up the school-wide behavior program. The teachers have just been able to just really teach this year.
And that's why we insist on a 3-tiered behavior plan, because it eliminates so many issues that don't need to exist if we would just set things up right. So
anyway, the rest of the TSSA fund, funding is really just for those positive behavior celebrations, which our first quarter ones will include, well, probably include all children. It's really all children but one. So can't do that. We'll just celebrate a little bit extra with everybody else. Anyway.
Get creative on how to do that.
There, I don't know how we're gonna do that. And then the second item is just our amendment for our school land trust plan. So when talking with teachers about our school land trust plan for this year that I didn't write, we were looking at the after-school tutoring, and everyone I talked to that had anything to do with after-school tutoring last year says it just didn't work because it wasn't, I mean, when you think of tutoring, you think of like, you know, 1-on-1 or 1-on-3 or 1-on-5 maybe, but not 1-on-15. So it wasn't very successful. It was more frustrating for the teachers and the students, according to the teachers, than it was helpful. And so looking at technology with having one-to-one devices for third grade, well, second grade and up, we really wanted to look at first grade and kindergarten because, well, and this had nothing to do with the amendment, but I just found out that Waterford doesn't work with our iPads in some cases because our iPads are older, and so there's no more updates. I mean, it's not like a huge big deal, but as time goes on and these get older, it's causing a little bit of some issues. So we would like to take that money that was for the after-school tutoring and be able to purchase as many. I know we won't be able to get a whole classroom set because the card itself is a little expensive, but to get as many new Chromebooks for our kindergartners and our first grade. So what we did,
Here comes the ask forgiveness thing.
Well, I don't know if I have to ask forgiveness, but anyway. when we got new Chromebooks, like a month ago for our 5th grade, and then Tyson and Tyler? Okay, thank you. Put all of the older Chromebooks in for students if we ever have to go do remote learning and stuff like that. We have like 20. So we put those in 1st grade for right now. Okay, thank you. And I'm like, okay.
That's what I'd have done.
Yeah. But these were ones that were going to be retired
Let's see.
or surplus or however.
Kids
that
need
would-
Chromebooks.
Yeah, right.
but They're in that back room, but you can't use them because they're just in case.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Good
but
job.
they were, I mean,
That sounds like something that
sorry, in my other
urban
district,
schools would do.
wouldn't have been able to do that as easily because they would have, anyway. But, so they're being utilized, but they're older and we still have a couple that we can give into kindergarten. We'd like to have them, we'd like to purchase new. And we'd like to do this, we're hoping that within 2 years, we will be able to have enough one-to-one devices. So we're a one-to-one school. So, I think that what we have right now, now let me tell you why. Not just what, but why. So with the technology that we have and the programs that we have, there's a lot of opportunities for our students to do independent reading. And in the lower grades, sometimes it's a little hard to get decodable text too. That's not, we got a picture and a word, that's not necessarily decodable, but being able to open up more resources, more materials, supplemental materials for our students to be able to read. Also for them to be able to use like Waterford and, Waterford and
Raz.
Brett, thank you.
Reading A to Z, yeah.
Reading A to Z, thank you. More often during their independent time. It's, for right before, we're still doing it in kindergarten, we're still having to swap Chromebooks out from classroom to classroom. But that would really, our goal is that our kids are going to make that 1.5 years increase by the end of the year. And the more opportunities that we give them, that we don't have to go out and purchase books, and it's just right there. I think that the better off that our little kiddos are gonna be in the read and being successful.
Do they take them home? the
No, they do
Chromebooks?
not.
Okay, so there's not an issue with connectivity out in the community then?
No, but with that being said, if there is, if we do have to go virtual, we're not gonna go virtual, but we still, at this point in time, do not have enough for all of the kids to be able to take them home. Not saying that kindergarten would necessarily want all of them to take them home, but there are some programs that the kindergartners would be able to. The Waterford program is really, really, really important especially for kindergarten and 1st grade. And if they can't have a device, and then again with remote learning, we do have devices, but they're not updated for the ones that are going to go home. So I would just really like to see our school be a one-to-one school where the technology is there and available anytime that they need it, and not just to replace a worksheet, but there for learning, for intervention, for enrichment, and for fun. Technology is fun. If I don't know how to code. I'm looking at the student board member. I don't know how to code, but the kids love it. So anyway, please tell me you have no questions.
We have no questions.
I already asked mine.
Yay!
But that's a lie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because I asked you to tell me that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Do you have any questions?
So going forward, are you going to be looking at using a lot of your trust lands funding for additional
So moving on
Chromebooks?
forward to next year, using probably about the same amount. We are using our trust line funds for our reset, or our behavior specialist, and that we'd like to keep. And then another part of our trust lines is another paraprofessional to increase her hours. So those, I'd like to keep those. Those are very, very important to our school. And then using what's left, which is about 3,600 or something like that, to purchase the the technology that we need until we have it purchased. So
There are
then
other
we have to,
opportunities that I would just throw out every year at the school. If Chromebooks helps them with their school improvement plan, TSSA is another resource for them to use for that too. So,
Yeah, I was just wondering, you know, that, knowing the school that's there, knowing its location, the economic of its population, I would think that there would be a technology grant out there that would purchase,
there's probably lots of them.
you know, I think a $10,000 grant would give you half of the Chromebooks you need for the whole school.
Well, and I hate to
I'd
see
probably
it,
give
we
them
have to
all.
wait too long.
Yeah,
to-
well, and then you still have to look at sustainability, because I don't know how
Well, and
often we roll over
that's
and
what I
what
was
we
gonna
use our
say, there's
technology money for.
a bigger conversation that we need to have with the board about this new age that we're in, and is third grade and up adequate anymore for what the district's
Sure.
commitment is.
Well, I think the district,
Don't
We-
bring Stephanie into that discussion.
Well, I came from a,
You're in her Stephanie, Mike.
well, I came from.
I'm
a
exhausted just
school
thinking about
had
that.
been one-to-one for years, and I saw the benefit. And really, I saw almost a bigger benefit in the lower grades than I did in the upper grades. It just, I really want our school to be a one-to-one school, because there's so many benefits to our little guys learning early. Also, like Stephanie was saying, how to get on, how to log on, how to access these programs, and then start to not just access them, but actually use them. It's really phenomenal when you can watch a second grader build a Nearpod lesson for his class. So,
You know, this is anecdotal to this whole thing, but at work, just last week, I was lamenting the fact that I took typing for a half a year in the 9th grade. And now we're just expecting our kindergartners to come with typing skills.
keyboarding, they don't type.
They don't type.
Yeah,
Keyboarding, yeah.
Keyboarding skills.
well, and that's another thing, them having one-to-one devices also helps them. You know, we don't have a computer lab at our school anymore, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to get those keyboarding. I don't know, do we use EduTyping? Whatever the keyboarding program is that's the only time they're going to be able to, is in their classrooms. So-
Now, on this amendment here, there is not an amount put on there.
Oh.
You're right, and I thought about that as I was talking about an amount.
I
So
totally
taking
missed
what
that.
was, it's 3, can you pull that up, Lon? Or do you want me to look at it?
I can pull.
I think it's like 3,600 and ... something like that. So it's not I mean, it's a substantial amount of money, but when you're looking at technology, it should get us a cart and at least 2 handfuls of Chromebooks.
It'll give you
Are you
about
having to look up your
15
Password.
password?
Well, they changed everything this summer, and on my desktop, I've got it saved right, but on here, it's got the old. one,
Okay,
so-
it is $3,642.
You got it?
Yeah, I'm on the website. I don't know why I asked you to do it. Yeah, so it's $3,642. And I can add that into, where do I want to add that into the amendment? Anyway, I will go back and edit and add that into the amendment. 3,642. Any other questions?
That was the balance of the money.
That's what was set aside for the after-school tutoring.
Okay, now you need to tell me again.
3,600,
Sorry, I'm
Probably
not ready,
the
I'm not
end.
ready yet.
They're
3,642.
down probably
We probably put it at the
Nancy.
bottom.
And just before
would
the
be-
last sentence, in between, hook it onto the end of the second to the last sentence. That's where it talks
Right there where you
about it,
said,
there.
right, go down where it says the Chromebooks and cart for the school.
Or you can
Specific,
put, where it says right at the top, requesting that the funds, you can put in parentheses right there.
Right there.
Or right.
The funds right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That says $3,642. We have $95 of carryover, we're gonna throw that in too. Any other questions? No, thank you. You guys are awesome. And thank you, Ms. McCord, for coming and making me visit, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I
So
enjoyed
you're
it.
more than welcome to come to our beautiful school anytime. So
Thank you, thank you. Is there a motion to approve, Broom Point Elementary Trust lands planned amendment as presented?
I'll move to approve the trust lands plan as amendment.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Policy 302, employment hiring requirements and restrictions.
Okay, so this one you saw last month. We just wanted to update some of the language that has been there for a really long time, where it talked about carbon.k12.ut.us. And just try and simplify it a little bit. So openings will be posted using the district website and other required media. We are required by the state to post it with workforce services, and then it talks about the hiring committee. And we put in some clarifying language equal to the position of the position being hired. That was language the board suggested last time, and it much improves the policy, I think. And then we together gave some troubleshooting to the initial language that we had here. So now it just reads as you see there with, if you remember, the issue that we're trying to address is frustration from the part of schools and head coaches when it comes to trying to select an assistant coach or an assistant advisor. We have a need, and that's to make sure that no one gets dropped in our system, that somebody doesn't show up and say, hey, I need to get paid for being an assistant coach, which has happened many times. And we say, well, who are you? We don't have you in our system. They were never background checked, and we just can't afford that. So we need everything to go through a process. Coaches and principals don't want extra rigmarole to try and get somebody into the position. So we feel like this is a good compromise where we definitely won't have anyone slip through the cracks, but it makes it a little easier for them.
So I read this and I'm thinking, okay, why did we word number 3 the way we worded it?
I don't know.
Because it says you can do it without the hiring committee.
Yes, that you can do it with, because this is an assistant, that the selection can be made through an informal
Because they've
process.
been doing that, and the reason, we said the only time that we didn't want that to happen is when it was a relative or something.
Yes, so that's where number 2
Because
came
they've
in
been
down
doing
here.
that. So if it wasn't a relative, they could, but if it was a relative, then it had to go through a committee.
So they still have to select from somebody who applied, but the coach should just be able to, their feeling, the school's feeling, and if the board feels differently, that's okay, but the school's feeling is the coach should be able to select who they want. And as long as they've applied, that way we can make sure they go through the process of the background check and everything. But As far as a head coach though, that should follow everything else that's in the policy with the committee and all of the other parts of the policy, so.
Okay, so if someone does number 3 though, is that mean you're going to have someone show up and say, hey, I need to be paid because I was an assistant coach?
No, because they have had to apply through the advertising. So they might have only advertised for 1 week, but they'll have to select from those who applied, who actually went through the application process.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And that's the debate that we need to have is we're applying that to head coaches, but not assistant coaches. Do we need to, if the assistant coach is a relative?
But it says you will if it's a
I think
relative.
we covered that already though, didn't we?
Yeah, this is what the board wanted in there
Yeah.
last
Yeah,
time.
right.
In the event that the candidate is a
Conversation.
relative,
Of the
Mhm.
supervisor. Now, do
Okay,
we need to
must include-
define the level of relative?
Relative, maybe that's,
oh yeah, we better.
yeah, because if it's 50
What
cousins,
do you mean by relative?
Yeah, is it 8th cousin twice removed?
well, there went price.
Yeah.
Maybe after relative, just put
Immediate?
parent, oh yeah, immediate family, or,
Do we want to
I
put
mean,
first
you're
degree or
talking
second
parent,
degree relative, something of that
father,
nature?
or daughter, son,
Speak up,
whatever.
Jeff.
What do you call it?
I don't know if you want to go parent, child, in-laws, so you
Yeah,
get
just the
son-in-laws,
immediate.
daughter-in-laws,
Immediate family,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Put it in
Well, brother,
parentheses, like-
Sibling,
yes,
Sibling.
siblings, yes.
Parent, sibling, child,
parent, child, in-law, sibling,
okay.
second cousin.
Twice removed.
Which I used to know what that meant, but I don't.
Means you're 2 generations apart.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? Thank you for making those changes, by the way. I think that settles a lot of the angst that happens in the process. Okay, without any further discussion, is there a motion to accept policy 302 as a final and second reading?
I move we adopt policy 302 as a second and final reading. The hiring requirements and restrictions.
Gotcha. It's been moved. Is there a
I'll second.
second? It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? With none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and now we're down to policy 531? No, 547.
47, yeah. Okay, this one's coming because of, one of the other items
Yeah,
that we
now,
have.
first of all, this was 4 years ago we reviewed this and so this isn't a 1982 policy. This is a relatively
Doesn't seem
current.
like it's been that long.
Yeah, no, I think we hashed this one out pretty hard.
Yeah, and it's a good policy that I think we might need to bring back for a couple little things that I noticed as we went through this process, as we have on the agenda, the expulsion part. But a couple of parents came in to visit with us and they were great and they shared some thoughts about some concerns. And one of them, as you can see, as the suggested change, came from the parents who we believe we can address in policy. And that's down here under readmission of expelled students. So in that number 3, it just says, if the expulsion was a result of a situation that involves school-age victims, said victims and their parents will be notified of the readmission date of the expelled student prior to the expelled student being readmitted to school. something that from their perspective would be extremely helpful. Whether action needs to be taken or not is up to them, but just to know that that particular student is coming back after a year of expulsion or something, they felt would be really valuable. And I noticed that there was a place in our policy that could address that. So that's where we're suggesting that the board consider that language.
Now, so there are already other changes that you're contemplating to this policy?
There's just some little things that I'm curious about as far as timeframes, such as the 10 days for people to respond and request a hearing, anyway, there's the 10 days. I'm a little concerned that in state statute now, as opposed to 4 years ago, it's 15 days.
Yeah, it might be longer than 10.
So I believe there's just a couple little things that we probably need to.
So let me propose this, that we approve this as a first reading with the intention that you bring back those other changes for our second reading next month.
Okay, perfect.
Do you think you need a time frame on this one that you've just added? I mean,
Well, that's my thought was, well, that what could count is we notify them at the time of the expulsion, the date they're scheduled to come back, and we satisfied that requirement, which I don't
Exactly.
think is the intent of what the parents were asking.
No, I think that does meet the intent. They need to, I think it's what
So
it
they can
is
plan from there?
we don't typically tell anybody about the situation of a particular
yeah,
student.
so,
So this policy allows us to do that, to say when a student's expelled, we can tell them they're expelled for a year and they'll be eligible to enroll on this date.
and that way you're not sitting there trying to,
Yeah, we don't want
Timeframe.
to get in a situation where we're in violation of the policy just because we changed an administrator or somebody in the process just doesn't know the situation.
But it does give you the flexibility that
Yeah.
maybe you don't know when they're going to become readmitted or allowed to re-enter school. So at that time, you can say, okay, people, this person's coming back.
It allows us to stay in contact and inform that victim's family.
it's just,
It allows us to tell the victim's family that particular detail of the consequence given to a student.
Okay. All right, so that's my proposal, that we approve this as a first reading with the intent that the superintendent brings back those other changes that are necessary 4 years later.
Move to approve policy 547 as a first reading.
Been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded. Any further discussion? With none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, LEA specific licenses. Now, attached to this is not the list that we had. So there isn't an attachment on the board records to this. Do we need to have those specific individuals as part of what we're doing here?
Actually, that's a great point. Micah brought them in paper form for you. I will attach those. That's a good point. They do need to be on.
Okay, with the attached list that we have here, not the electronic version.
That then makes them part of the public record.
yes.
So Darren, is that correct?
Oh, so maybe
If I
it
place
should be there.
them in administrative or executive, which is what I normally do, then the public can't see it.
Okay, all right.
But it's still part of the record and we can go back and find it.
Okay, that was where I was going.
Okay, any further discussion after we already had this discussion in work meeting?
I thought Micah was gonna come back to the
Yeah, we were gonna make
microphone.
Micah come back up here. Someone want to make the motion?
No.
She's coming up?
Oh,
No,
sorry,
you
did
don't.
really
You
not
don't.
want to? Sorry, we're.
I'll make a motion to accept the LEA school license
Good, but
information
I do
as
have
presented.
Who did you need?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
None of you are channeling your stuff.
We are. We were totally.
Wait,
channeling.
We were having a good time.
Wait.
You're not.
Who was the second? I guess I
Okay.
missed you with the motion.
Did you have any more questions on that?
I did not.
Melissa made the motion.
I moved.
I knew you were here for that discussion. Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now action item number 5, the expulsion authorization. Any further discussion other that we can have in public that we didn't have in closed session?
There we go.
Okay, is there a motion to accept, modify, or reject the proposed action, expulsion authorization?
I will make a motion that we accept as it is the expulsion authorization.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and finally down to the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Then, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? With none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other items the board would have? Next board meeting is scheduled for November 11th.
So I just had a quick question. I had a conflict was it last week or the week before when they had the regional meetings?
Yeah.
Was there anything earth shattering that I missed?
I'm sorry, that was going to be part of my board report. Someone please tell me what happened in the regional meetings.
Yeah, they were good. I
It was a
mean,
good meeting.
they just went over the JLC priorities for the most
Okay,
part.
so,
And talked about the upcoming.
which I was in the virtual meeting that actually set the priorities, so
Yeah, it was a lot. It just went over the same stuff.
same stuff that was there.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mhm.
The only additional item that, as superintendents, we brought up in the rural areas is when the legislature made their funding decisions for this school year in their special session, they made a decision to cut an item that's crucial to the pot of money that we use to do our business. It's called administrative costs. It's a poorly named thing because it's just above the line item and it just goes into the big pot, and that's what we use for everything. And we were cut $212,000 in that area. And all school districts who were below 5,000 students, but above 1,000 students were similarly cut. And so it disproportionately impacted that group of districts. And it was wonderful to hear the USBA's enthusiastic support of us trying to rectify that with the legislature. So that was the only other thing that was discussed quite a bit.
Okay.
Kristen had one, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And, well, to follow up on that, November is when we traditionally try to meet with our legislative representatives. And we've kind of loosely left that in the last whole bunch of years to the service center. But I think this year it would be a good idea if perhaps we didn't invite our legislators to a meeting that we could sit down and talk and discuss the issues that are coming up and some of the holes and problems that we see that aren't necessary. I mean, we need to hit them up on restoring what was lost. But some of these other things,
There are
like
other items.
concurrent enrollment items and this administrative cost issue and other ones that are, so is
So
there,
that is scheduled for November 12th.
but it is daytime, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, it's no, sorry, that's, my service center meeting is at 9, but the legislators are intended to be there around noon to have lunch, and that's usually just a lunch meeting.
Yeah. So I think we want to gather them in the evening when we can all
Okay.
be there. That, it's just difficult. Too many lunch meetings to carve that time out. So is there a better night of the week that we could target them in November to come for board members? November- Tuesday night, November 3rd, is that what you're
I
saying?
don't think they'll be busy.
Yeah, nothing's going on that day.
Oh,
They'll
that's
just be,
right.
they'll be just sitting around.
Yeah, Christine will, she'll just be sitting there glued, and we can put the tab, TV with the
Yeah.
results.
Well, they're
They're
both
not
running
gonna tell it
unopposed, it doesn't
anyway.
matter.
Yeah, they're both unopposed.
I wonder if it would be out of the realm of possibility for them to meet with the board on the 11th at 3:30 for our work session. Even if it was virtual, we can pull them up right here and talk to them, but I don't know, is that something that
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
try to pull off?
That would be wonderful if we could do that. Did you see if that could be a possibility? Or do you want me to do that?
Oh, I can work on it.
Okay. All
We're
right.
just talking Christine Watkins and
Senator Hinkins.
Hinkins.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Okay with that, Jim?
Mhm.
Melissa? Hunter, would you like an opportunity to sit down and post it?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I had one
Oh,
more
one
thing.
more.
Kristen,
Oh, that's right, sorry.
wanted to bring up, a concern about the COVID and if after Thanksgiving or around that time, if there is a increase in, are we prepared? Or, her suggestion maybe was that we needed to be prepared for going back to virtual for a short period of time. And
Oh,
is that something?
we've been working
Yeah, I think
hard on
that's
that.
ongoing. I think we're prepared at any time.
That's a large part of our PD day coming up is, I think what day is that?
Friday.
Friday. Not this Friday, but the
I was gonna say,
following
this Friday?
Yeah, that was Friday.
We've talked a lot with principals. We have got to be ready. We hope we don't do it, but there's no excuse for not being ready at this point. And we have the support, we have the technology, we have everything that we need, and that's one of the reasons they are bringing Stephanie in, is to do that professional development, make sure that teachers are confident with how they're going to handle it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the answer is we're continually updating
Okay.
with that. Okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved to adjourn.
Thank you, whoever.
I thought we were gonna leave that to
And,
Hunter from now on.
Oh, I think we're gonna be, okay, I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Bam, done.
And fall break officially just commenced.
Just did.
Now, I was expecting the PD day
Yeah,
to be
Chelsea, what are you
today,
still doing?
like 3 days of fall break, but
Yeah, we're still probably just gonna meet Sunday night. Because everyone's on fall break, so we'll meet Sunday night.
Well, that's true. That's why I was having a tough time figuring out in my mind where the Sunday night was coming from. That's why. Show the superintendent.
You've been part of that, right? So
He passed away.
They are so awesome. You guys have always just figured out